so all possibilities are in everything. And that introduces the possibility of a miracle. In other words, that the natural order of things can also be disrupted if that needs to be. Parashat B'Shalach, S'fat Emet. And before we start, I want to give a quick tour of how to access. I'm going to share the screen and show you the text and how to access the text on Sefaria. Sefaria is an app that has most of Jewish classical texts on it. And here we are. So if you go into sefaria.org, the S'fat Emet, the way you would reach the S'fat Emet is you click on the three lines on the top left, and then you scroll down where it says texts, and then you would go to where it says more. You click on more, and then you would look for the section of the Chassidut. S'fat Emet is a Hasidic Rabbi. Then you scroll down, and on the right-hand column, you will see S'fat Emet. There it is, S'fat Emet. Click S'fat Emet, and when you do that, you will then go to the top. This is the commentary on Genesis, but we don't want Genesis. So you click this drop-down menu, and you will go to Exodus, and then you would click on BeShalah, and there it is. And when you click on BeShalah, we are in section 22. So you will click on section 22, and the commentary that we're going to read today is Tafresh Nun Bet, which is, I believe, 5,652. Is that, did I get that right? 600. Rebelli.
Yep.
Okay, so, and this is a text.
Approximately 3 million men, women, children, and all their belongings and animals are traveling slowly through the desert, heading towards the promised land. Unfortunately, the Pharaoh changed his mind again. He takes his army, what's left of it, and he starts with his chariots to pursue the Jewish people in the desert with the aim of wiping them out completely, God forbid. The Jews are aware that this is happening, that they're being closed in. Behind them they have the Egyptian army. To the side they have the desert. And in front of them they come to a body of water which is called the Sea of Reeds, the Yam Suf. Some people call it the Red Sea. And this is the area what they had to cross. Now, you have water in front of you, an army behind you. To the side, you have desert, no chance of escape. So what are you supposed to do? So to make a long story short, we know what happens. God causes a miracle to occur. The splitting of the Sea of Reeds. And actually, there were at least 10 unbelievable miracles which occurred at this time. But the main miracle, of course, is that water, which is of the nature to flow and to flow in a downward position, stood upright in the form of an actual wall and allowed the Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel, to cross over. And of course, we know after that the Egyptians tried to follow them, and the miracle ceased, and the water came over and drowned the Egyptian army. After they get to the other side, they are so astounded by this wonderful, beautiful miracle that saved their lives. They all felt like they wanted to sing a song. So the verse says, "Az Yashir Moshe u'bnei Yisrael," is actually the future tense. It doesn't say, and then Moses sang, or and then Moses began singing. It says, literally, and then sometime in the future, Moses will sing. But that's not what happened. It was something that was happening at that moment. It should have said, then Moses and the Jews began to sing. So all the rabbinic scholars and commentators and the Talmud and the Midrash, everybody is busy with this word. Why was it written in the future tense? Rashi says it means not the future tense. It could mean the future, but it doesn't here. It means Az Yashir means that it entered into Moses' mind and heart to sing a song, and then he sang the song. That's his explanation. The rabbis say, not necessarily, they say, no, it is future tense. How could it be future tense? Because the verse is coming to teach us an unbelievable thing, that there's going to be something called in the future called the resurrection of the dead. All those souls that have passed away in the future will come back to life. And at that point, Moses will rejoin us, his soul will rejoin us among the living, whatever that means. And he will once again, along with all the Jewish people in the future, sing the completed song.
About the verse Az Yashir, and by the way, let me read the whole pasuk as it's written, the whole verse as it's written in the Torah. It says literally, Az Yashir Moshe uvnei Israel. By the way, this is Exodus chapter 15, verse 1, if you want to look it up. Az Yashir Moshe uvnei Israel et hashira hazot la'Adonai. And it translates, then Moses and the children of Israel sang this song to God. In this verse, the S'fat Emet brings the commentator Rashi, Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki, דקדק רש"י, זיכרונו לברכה, מה שכתוב לשון עתיד, ואין זה דבר ההווה תמיד. So Rashi was exacting, saying, this is the future tense, and it's not the present tense. Piresh ala belibo yashir, as Rabbi said before, and Rashi said, that means that what is saying that it came up in Moses' mind to sing the song. Chazal darshu mikan, and from this the sages have interpreted that it's referring to the resurrection of the dead, which is going to happen in the future at the end of days. When the resurrection of the dead is the time of the coming of the Messiah, the end of days, when the world is going to come into its perfection. והעניין הוא, כי בעולם הזה אין השמחה והשירה בשלמות. And the issue here is that in this world as opposed to the next world, or the world of the Messiah, the world of perfection, but in this real world that we're in right now, there is no joy or joyfulness, and there is no song that is complete. It's always lacking. There's always some imperfection in it. As the sages said, Yismach Hashem b'ma'asav la'atid. God will be rejoicing in God's handiworks in the future.
Many people feel that there's something lacking in their personal life, but not just in their personal life. They feel it's an existential question. What am I doing here? There's a void. It's hopeless, pointless, because there never seems to be a fulfillment to this life. What the S'fat Emet is saying is that this problem is dealt with in this one word, Az Yashir. The S'fat Emet is saying that on a superficial level, it could appear that the song, our joy, our joyful song can't be complete in this world. We have to wait for something else. So the S'fat Emet is saying that hidden in this one word, Yashir, then we will sing, is speaking about this problem.
And what Chazal told us, Yismach Hashem b'ma'asav la'atid, means God's work is not finished. God will rejoice when it's all complete and everybody's happy, right? So there's a theology here, but the S'fat Emet is going to say, really, is that true? Do we really have to wait till the end of days? So position emal, achen yesh zmanim, שבני ישראל יכולים להרגיש משמחה ושירה עתידה. He says, but there are times when the people of Israel, and perhaps all people, can feel and experience this future promised, complete rejoicing and song. So there's a way, like I saw Stacy, you left a comment, there's a way to experience this in the moment. And let's see how he opens up the moment. וזה שנאמר בתפילת שבת, ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת. And that's why it says when we pray the prayers for the Sabbath, we say the verse, those who observe the Sabbath will rejoice in your kingdom or in your sovereignty, will in the future, right? So, כי בהשמחה לעתיד במלכותו יתברך, because in the future there will be the rejoicing at the time of God's sovereignty. Now that is another euphemism for the end of days and the times of Messiah, etc. So in that time of God's kingdom, by the way, is a concept that's shared by Christians as well, even more common in Christian parlance, right? God's heavenly kingdom. So in that time, says the S'fat Emet, the people of Israel will have a big portion in this. Why? Because they are observing the Shabbat. So far this is a little technical, and I want to just say, everybody stay patient, because he's going to take this a little deeper. Don't think that if you go and buy challah and light the candles, you secured your, you're rejoicing, singing and dancing, in the days to come because you're such a good Jew. That's not what he's getting at. So I'm going to continue. ולכן, כיוון ששבת הוא מעין עולם הבא, and because Shabbat is as if the world to come, or this messianic time, יכולים להרגיש מעין אותה שמחה עתידה. One can experience in that moment of the observance of the Shabbat as if one is having that future complete joyfulness present in that moment. לכן דרשו חז"ל וביום שמחתכם על השבת. That is why the sages explained that Shabbat is called the day of your rejoicing. שהוא מעין עולם שכולו שבת. Because Shabbat is, because that day is actually, or that time in the future is actually a time that is kind of an eternal Shabbat. So there will be a time in the future where every day is going to be Shabbat. Every day is going to be in the moment. Every day is going to be pregnant with its spiritual context. As Yismach Hashem b'ma'asav, and that's what it means, that at that time God will be rejoicing in God's handiworks. Well, who are the handiworks? We are the handiworks, right? So, ועל ידי שבני ישראל שומרים ומצפים לזו השמחה, מתגלה להם הערה הזאת. And I love this comment. In a moment you'll see why. And through the practice of the people of Israel, who are both observing the Sabbath, meaning applying the practices, right, in a real way. This is a spiritual practice. And they're anticipating, they're tuning in, right? It's like an alignment with this future perfect joyfulness. Then the enlightenment of this quality, of this joyfulness, becomes revealed to them. It's a very powerful statement, right? By aligning to something that we aspire to in the future, it can become present in our presence. Present in our present, rather.
The Hasidic rabbis have spoken about the idea that we have to act. Each individual person has to be busy with the process of self-redemption, of spiritual redemption internally, as Stacy was asking about before. And then, if we all are doing that as a group, as a community, as humankind, then automatically we evolve into that period of time.
Yeah.
So that's an important point, because he's saying, as he'll pinpoint in a few lines, but as he's alluding to here, this idea of the work days versus Shabbos, versus the Sabbath, the constricted days of materiality versus a day given over to spiritual practice, as Reb Reuven said.
Yeah, literally a retreat.
Retreat. This is all a hint. This is all an allusion to what that future time that is of our own making is going to be like. We are so anticipating this. It's something we want. It's something we're yearning for. Every once in a while, we get a little glimmer of it. Even on a weekday. Even while I'm bopping around doing my thing. Yeah. Being pulled every which way. I get a blast of it.
Yeah.
Because that's my mindset. That's where I want to be.
Rebel, the saying, fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it. And the S'fat Emet here is saying, yearn for it till you make it. ובאמת לפניו יתברך שמו, עבר ועתיד והווה הכל אחד. So you asked about the future, and S'fat Emet says, but truly, let's not forget that for God, blessed be, the past, the future, and the present are all one. Let that sink in, right? So we're thinking about about past, present, future, because that's our reality. But for God to be, to have joyfulness in the future or have joyfulness now, it's all one. It's all collapsed, right? So let's see where he takes us now. לכן, באמת זו השירה והשמחה הוא דבר ההווה תמיד. That's why, in truth, this kind of perfect song and perfect joyfulness is in the present always. אך הזמן והטבע מסתיר שאין יכול להתגלות שמחה עתידה, שאפשר יכול להתגלות שמחה עתידה. But the domain of time and the domain of space, he says nature, but he means time and space, right, are concealing the fact that this supposedly future perfect joyfulness can be revealed in the moment. So it's our limitation of being most of the time in kind of shackled in the dimensions of time and space.
The beautiful part about it is that if we're in the right frame of mind, if we can at times access that on some sort of a level, then we're tuning in to that future song in the present, right now. And that's the beauty of it. So the S'fat Emet is saying it's possible. It's possible to do that. I mean, it's here. It's just behind the curtain. You know, if I have ways, and God gave us the ways to pull back that curtain every once in a while. He gave us the Sabbath. He gave us the Sabbath.
If there's God in everything, so all possibilities are in everything. And that introduces the possibility of a miracle. You know, in other words, that the natural order of things can also be disrupted if that needs to be, right? So we're not, in principle, I mean, in reality, I am limited by time, space, the world, the material world I live in, but that's not a necessity. It's my experience, but it doesn't mean that another experience is impossible. And the S'fat Emet will talk about that now in the context of the miracle of the splitting of the sea, right? He says, "Aval ksheyesh zmanim sheyesh lehem aliyah lema'ala me'ateva," but since there are times when things go in unnatural ways, that's another way of saying a miracle. וכמו שהיה בקריאת ים סוף, כתוב ויושע השם ביום ההוא שהיה בו גילוי למעלה מן הטבע. Exactly like what happened at the splitting of the sea, as it's written, and God has, on that day, God has redeemed us, and redeemed us means that God has acted outside of the laws of nature. ואיתה במדרש זה קריאת ים סוף כמו יום שבת. And in the Midrash, the rabbis say, in their commentary, that the splitting of the sea was like a Sabbath. So you could say on the Sabbath we cease, right, from worldly things. So the laws of nature ceased. And therefore it was possible to have the splitting of the sea. Ayen Sham, Sof Parashat Bo. Lachen az Yashir. Therefore it says, then he will sing, about Moses, right? So Rashi said, what does it mean he will sing? That the thought of singing has arisen in his heart. And the S'fat Emet says, what arose in his heart is the experience of the future joyfulness. So that from the future, supposedly, in our terms, arose in him. And he, Moses, actualized this joyfulness, from abstract force into an applied experience through the song.
The answer to our original question, what was he singing about? The past, the present, the future? It's unclear. Future tense. He's singing it. Rose in his heart to sing. What's going on? So the S'fat Emet says, they're all right. Moses was blown away. Water doesn't go up, it goes down. Water doesn't stand still, it flows. So when Moses saw this, he's saying, whoa, wait a minute now. And they were so joyful about seeing this because it told him all that the S'fat Emet was getting into here today. There's no past, present, or future. It's all one. And this feeling of incompleteness, of a void, is not real. That's the illusion. The reality is that everything is complete and full even now, even in our daily lives, if we only had the tools to access what's there for us. And we do have the tools. God gave us the tools. So you have to be wise and very forceful in terms of what we're seeking for ourselves, the wisdom, and how we internalize that into our daily living. But we have the potential is there. And Moses saw, as the S'fat Emet concluded, that Moses saw the actualization of the potential of this physical material world, that it's really a spiritual thing. And that's what caused him to sing for himself, for the Jewish people, for all generations.
That's right. We continue to read and sing.
And sing it every year.
Well, I do have a question, and it might just be because I'm unclear on my Judaism, but are Jews looking or waiting for a prophet to come and take them to this place of joy, like traditional Judaism? Because what I'm hearing from you is that we can find that place on our own, and we don't need to be dependent on waiting for someone else or a prophet to come and lead us there.
Right. So, according to Hasidic philosophy, it's both at the same. It's both. They work. They're not interchangeable, but they work in tandem. In other words, yes, once we have to get ourselves together and try and achieve a certain spiritual state as individuals and as a community. Is a Jewish holiday.
B'Shvat.
It's called Tu B'Shvat. It's the day where we celebrate the agriculture of Israel, of the land of Israel, specifically the 7 crops that Israel is famous for. But in general, it's a day set aside to celebrate nature and the rebirth of nature after the dormant winter. One more time for that part. Watch out now.
Comment below, subscribe to the Hebrew Learning Circle's YouTube channel if you haven't, and happy Tu B'Shvat. We'll see you next Wednesday, as always, around 9 o'clock in the morning. Shalom for now.